can't, PR is a strategy you have to go out and implement. You can't just flick a button and start writing this information on, kind of on your subdomains or publish blog posts on your website like you used to be able to do with SEO. Anything else that's interesting, that's kind of like new and exciting of like things that brands should be thinking about when trying to implement and get these positive results?
Why don't we start with what they shouldn't be doing? Because
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to talk about that. Because
Slop.
yes, so there's AEO and GEO companies that are quite large now that their entire business model is push to publish, which is basically an AI generated article that gets pushed out to syndicated publishers. It's a hack for the systems, and it's only a matter of time until the LLMs start to wake up, and Google just rolled out spam filtering, so we'll see what that business model looks like in the future.
Yeah.
Also,
Anytime there's a shortcut, it's short-lived.
exactly.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Ad Podcast. We've got Justin Inman and Dan Roberts from Emberos, which is a new product inside of the Assembly Media Stagwell network surrounding Agentic Search and all the interesting innovations that are happening around commerce. Did I get that mainly right?
Mostly. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I would say Search Plus, which Dan can talk about a little
Nice.
bit more, is powered by Emberos. And yeah, it's been launched for at least 3 months now.
Okay, let's go.
And we just launched Merchant, which is SKU level optimization.
Okay.
So really going after the agentic shopping world.
Let's go. Well, let's talk about what is Search Plus to start. How would you frame it?
Search Plus is our answer to unlocking like brand discoverability, maximizing visibility, positive sentiment and outcomes in AI search. So as Justin mentioned, like the technology infrastructure behind that is Emberos, and our kind of operating system is designed to detect, fix, and prove lift in AI search for our brands. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
And is that strictly AEO or also delivering on the paid side, a little bit of both?
Yeah. So right now we focus on the kind of AI search world.
Yep.
Obviously, a lot of what we do is within both of those worlds, for traditional kind of SEO, but also the AI search era, and we kind of we have a full total product solution to combat both of those things. And we are looking at kind of paid visibility, and obviously a large part of what we do at Stagwell and Assembly is paid media. And
Yeah, now we're seeing like ads pop up in ChatGPT for the first time, so I imagine that's going to be ripe territory for you guys to
really
apply
important
learnings to the media buy side when they start to come online.
It's a really important point as well, because the way that we see it through Search Plus is really through. It's not just kind of an AI search or a kind of an SEO problem. It's very much a paid, owned, and shared challenge, and it's really that's how you kind of win in AI search.
So how are you guys adjusting to this new paradigm in which 60% of searches now don't end with a click? Like we used to have this deep consumer research funnel where they would do a keyword search, ask Google a question, click through, read a lot, spend a lot of time in research mode. And then during that research mode, you would pixel them when they came to your website. You could follow them around the internet with nice reminders. And then finally, when they convert, hopefully get the attribution. Now, consumers are doing their searches in a host of AI tools. There's not a winner yet, like Google has one search, if you really want to speak plainly about it. But I find myself transitory through different AI models throughout the day, whether I'm working in Claude, asking Grok a question because I'm doing show research and I want the personal elements of somebody's Twitter, using Gemini for generating a contract because it's connected to my Google Suite. Like there's still a lot of transitory behavior and there's not a clear winner inside of agentic search yet. So wondering how you guys see that show up, or are you having to optimize for all of these?
So I think for us, just taking a little bit of a step back, because I think that was a couple part question there.
Yeah.
The measurement piece that you mentioned, similar to early days search, social, and mobile. The real winners of the era were the ones that adopted before the measurement pieces were fully ironed out.
Interesting.
And you can still see those are the real winners of today. And so we're in the first inning of this, and I think partnering with Assembly and Stagwell and thinking about how do we get into MMMs and partnering with like large measurement providers is something that we're absolutely thinking about. And how do we really start to kind of forge that path of measurements, because that's coming and it's coming very soon. So that's one piece. I would say the other piece, which is just like navigating the multiple LLMs and like how do you think about that? For us, we're in partnership. We're Switzerland, right? And
So you're neutral to the platform.
Right. And so it doesn't matter what platform they're on. It's really finding that consumer and the point of discovery. So if they're on ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, Perplexity, it doesn't matter. We want to make sure that we are getting recommended, and not only getting recommended, but like making sure that recommendation is accurate, because that's where I think a lot of the space is getting confused. It's like, yeah, we want to be recommended into these LLMs, but it means absolutely nothing if it's not accurate, right? So,
Like if the recommendation is a hallucination.
has like wrong pricing or incorrect like products that are out of stock, and like there's a lot of these things. So I think you see a lot of players in the space just like, okay, we can boost your recommendation rate. But for us, it's much more than that.
Yeah, because if you can't complete the consumer journey, then who cares?
It doesn't matter, right? And so we are really thinking about not only the recommendation piece, but making sure it's accurate and really cleaning up the entire ecosystem. And that's where I think the partnership really comes from a unique wedge standpoint from AEO, GEO, because it's much more broader than that.
How do you think about the idea of AEO being conversational and also audio? It's like almost, I find myself talking to ChatGPT for the first time. I wasn't a big Alexa, talk to my Alexa. I hate Siri. Everything with voice.
Does anyone use Siri?
I know, right? Like everything with voice sucked before AI.
Yeah.
But now, especially when I'm driving, I find myself hitting the ChatGPT button and having more of a conversation that you would have with, a colleague or something like that. It's more like it's conversational versus, like when I'm typing something into AEO, sometimes I'm misspelling things, just kind of stream of consciousness putting it in. Is there a way that you think about optimizing sonically or through voice? And then my follow-up question to that is I also have Meta Specs now, which is hardwired into Meta's AI. So now the device gets the device gets a vote, right? So it's like, how are you interfacing through hardware with AI? Sometimes if you own the pipes of the technology, or if you own the pathway, which is like the specs is a moat, that is potentially another thing to be thinking about. I don't know if you guys given much thought to that.
Yeah, definitely. That's deliberately why we built Search Plus. Is everyone else thinks that generative AI is the kind of the future, and really that's kind of more the present. I'd say the future is more you've kind of got this. You've got the generative AI, and then you've got the more kind of what we're in now is more like kind of the agentic era, and then you've got kind of world model view of search. So as you said, like you kind of got your meta classes and even things that we haven't even thought about yet. Search Live is something that I never knew I really needed until I started using it in Google, and it's amazing. Like I use it a lot. Yeah. So the way that we position it is like actually Search Plus is designed for that feature. It's not just the generative kind of chatbot kind of interfaces, and that's why we focus so much on the foundational LLMs. Because ultimately those things are what's going to power that feature. Like, Gemini is powering Search Live. ChatGPT is obviously kind of powering those experiences that you're having in the car, and really that's our focus. Is like if you can understand how to influence those from a brand perspective, like positively for the brand, then you are future-proofing yourself for that feature, regardless of what output or what multimodal kind of experience you get. It's very much like the experience that's changing, not necessarily the kind of the so that's what we talk about a lot within Search Plus, is that experience, and ultimately that's
interesting. Tactically, I've heard a bunch of different things be thrown around as potential ways to help improve AEO. Some of the ones I've heard recently are like PR being an important component, like third-party recommendations, sentiment. Essentially, sentiment's like 80%, 70 to 80%. Do third parties talk about your brand in a way that is, I guess, in a good light, essentially a review process, or essentially are saying good things about you? YouTube Shorts and YouTube videos, that podcasts. Ultimately podcasts, ultimately YouTube's content structure of rewarding watch time, thumbs up, thumbs down. Reddit having this thumbs up, thumbs down component where like the community votes essentially, and it's harder to game. And then also like the way that tokens are used, like writing in ways and describing your brand in ways that don't generate a lot of energy and cost money to these LLMs. What's the balance between like kind of like foundational things like credit usage, which really comes down to like it's a mathematic problem essentially. You know, you want to spend less energy to get the result you want because you're more profitable. But then some of these things that are more like you can't, you know, PR is a strategy you have to go out and implement. You can't just flick a button and start writing this information on, you know, kind of on your subdomains or publish blog posts on your website like you used to be able to do with SEO. Anything else that's interesting, that's kind of like new and exciting of like things that brands should be thinking about when trying to implement and get these positive results?
Why don't we start with what they shouldn't be doing? Because
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to talk about that. Because
Slop.
yes, so there's AEO and GEO companies that are quite large now that their entire business model is push to publish, which is basically an AI generated article that gets pushed out to syndicated publishers. It's a hack for the systems, and it's only a matter of time until the LLMs start to wake up, and Google just rolled out spam filtering, so we'll see what that business model looks like in the future.
Yeah.
Also,
Anytime there's a shortcut, it's short-lived.
exactly. So we are focusing for long-term visibility gains, and that's across paid, owned, and earned, and that's your entire digital footprint. And so the recommendations and the there's predictive capabilities too, where we say, go publish these 3 specific YouTube videos to clean up this hallucination, or there's questions about, you know, who's in this movie or why this product exists, etc. And so create 3 YouTube videos because we know that those will be a stickier service for the long term. Hey, PR team, here's your boilerplate to tighten up the narrative around your brand, and here's a tier 1 publisher set that we know that might be difficult to get into, but here's also tier 2 and tier 3 that might be easier for you to influence because they are still more powerful than just not anything.
Just having nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, for your own site, here's a list of top prompts that you should be thinking about answering and FAQs. You mentioned the Reddit piece. How do you naturally insert yourself? Because I think that's
you can't
also
really game Reddit. Yeah.
that's also like a thing. Is like brands
Is that
are
a community management strategy inside Reddit?
community management, influencer strategy, and so those are all things that we're thinking about that are optimization strategies that we bring to our clients and Stagwell's clients that we know. It's not going to be this constant AI slop machine where you just constantly have to publish because it's a short-lived piece.
Yep.
That in 6 months from now, you've done the foundational work, and we know that like in 6 months from now, you'll actually be able to get recommended accurately, and that's important to us that we're not playing in that AI slop like content farming.
You talked a little bit about creators and podcasts. Is it better for a third party to create a video on your behalf, such as an influencer or a podcast, versus you creating things on your own as a brand, or equally important?
I'm sure you have a point of view on this one. I think for us, third-party sources are, as long as they're legitimate, right, are always a strong thing. The more people you have talking about your brand in a certain way, it's the better off you are. But I still think there's power in doing first-party pieces, and we were just talking about like having our own content, like kind of studio, not for podcasts, but like to be able to push out content more frequently.
Educational pieces,
but it's real, it's human, and it's not AI generated. And so I'm sure you have a point of view on this. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, all
let's go.
good. So, you know, it needs to be balanced of like own content and like the third-party solutions. And to Justin's point, you know, we need to make sure that when we look at the sources and those partnerships that we build, that we're doing it the right way, and we're not just kind of spitting out content and doing kind of random partnerships with like sources that aren't going to ultimately influence the AI search. So you need to balance it out. So that's why we have to look at it in a whole kind of paid, owned, and shared model. So yeah, I think owned and kind of your own content and your kind of first party kind of content is still super vital, because we're still in that kind of space where your traditional kind of SEO and kind of search experience still lives, it still breathes, and we're moving ever more to that new world of AI search. We can't ignore the things we're doing today, but we need to build for that future and make sure the things we're doing today are ultimately going to set us up for that future. And that's why we can't like just focus too much on the GEO kind of short-term tactics. They might work for a little bit, but you are going to get stung in the long term, because ultimately that's not built for humans. It's not built then for people to read, that in an AI search experience, and you cannot just rely wholeheartedly on those kind of short-term geo tactics. They will burn.
Yeah. Probably the most impactful keynote I saw this year was Zach, the former go-to-market for ChatGPT.
Yeah.
He talks about a world in the future where, essentially agents buying on behalf of their human counterparts. Probably the place where that's going to show up first is in commodities, where he made the example of if you look at my refrigerator, if you look at my pantry, you look at my cabinet, you look at my toiletry drawer, everything is a commodity except 6 brands that I care about.
Yeah.
And I don't care what it is as long as it comes at a reasonable price and it's replenished before I run out of it and I need to run to the grocery store.
Yeah.
How do you think these models are going to start thinking about returning products when we start to offshore buying to these agents? I think it's pretty realistic that, if you're willing to let somebody, a complete stranger, go to Walmart or Kroger or the grocery store and handle your bananas, there's a chance that you'll probably be okay with, a AI agent doing your shopping is for things, I think commodities at first, but maybe at some point automobiles, in a distant future, where the agent knows you better than you, and you're kind of do the Bill Gates, Steve Jobs thing where you outsource your personal life so you can focus on more meaningful work and more meaningful relationships. Are these all foundational things? Do you think they'll also be the key drivers when we start to think about agentic commerce, where we're tasking agents to do buying decisions on our behalf?
Definitely. So when we think about that world, it very much sits in the kind of the work that we're doing for Search Plus. And when we talk about visibility and discoverability of a brand, it's not just for a human but also for an agent. We need to be putting our brands in front of that agent. And how do you do that? That's ultimately what we think and what we know we have and that we're building for brands. But there's also there's a lot of kind of other elements to consider here as well. And ultimately what our brands and what our clients are selling needs to be good, because that's then going to create all this this content and the kind of chatter that is ultimately going to influence AI search as well. I actually think that a lot of branding and a lot of the way that we think about much higher up the funnel for a brand is going to be so much more important, because that's not just going to again be for humans to experience and to consider those brands, but also for those agents to consider as well. Not that they'll kind of be watching TV and kind of seeing it, but maybe they may.
Yeah, I mean,
in a way, it's
AI can watch videos from 21 dimensions now.
Exactly.
It
starts to know your preferences.
It's not a world that's completely impossible, right? Where they're watching content and making their own decisions about brands they think are cool.
But it'll know what you like. It'll know what you dislike. That world is very much here. And ultimately that's all going to influence the foundational LLMs, and that's then going to influence this agentic commerce kind of future, or this agent-to-agent future.
Pretty interesting. So if folks want to follow along with your thinking, look at any case studies, I know you mentioned you've got some new features and new products launching soon, where would you like to send people to either learn more, stay in touch, or follow along?
So we have a website, so it's stagwellsearchplus.assemblyglobal.com, and on there you can contact us and we can take you through everything that we're working on and more. From an emberos side, we've got the knowledge base and the knowledge hub there. So there's loads of case studies, lots of stuff that that you guys are doing. I'm talking for you there.
I'm here. So from emberos, follow us on LinkedIn. We are consistently putting out pretty amazing data around agentic shopping, around just the macro trends from a consumer standpoint, and we go pretty niche in some capacity, like around entertainment, etc. So that's one place. www.emberos.ai is the website, so you can go deeper into our case studies, how we're partnering with Stagwell, etc. And then follow us on LinkedIn. I think that's probably the best way.
Perfect. Thanks,
cool.
gentlemen.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks
Enjoy Possible.
Let's go.